One last question I don't want to forget about. Jeff Fagan wants to know, how did you monitor the skydiving shot? That's a very specific question. Talk to us about that. I mean, I'm curious just about the whole way you produced the skydiving shots, but the monitoring, I think, is certainly important to know how you did it.
Well, I mean, in many respects, when it actually came to the jump itself, you got to remember that, you know, that was the end result of a period of 3 or 4 months of fine-tuning the whole idea and the concept. So in other words, when it finally came to shooting it, we had, like, I think it was 14 attempts at the actual jump from the plane itself, and you've got it's choreography that you trust at that point. Is the best way I can describe. And the only reason it's got to that point is the amount of preparation that we did to get to that point. And that's right down to the actual choreography. It's down to how do we get how do we get a camera to half shoot a scene inside a plane and then exit the plane and then continue to shoot the scene at whatever it was, 13,000 feet, in a way that doesn't feel like it's a skydiving movie, in a way that it feels like exactly the principle that I've been talking about all along, is that sense of getting the audience involved in the action. So, for example, when focus dips slightly, it's a genuine focus dip. It's a mistake, but that mistake adds to the authenticity, if you like. For example, if it had been, Marvel, it would have been almost too perfect, and then your believability goes out the window. And so with this, Tom was very, very upfront about his intention from the very beginning. He's like, I don't want a skydiving movie. I want this to feel desperate and real and crazy and immersive, and that's what we had to do. So, and I could talk for a long time about how we got to that point technically and creatively, but I'm pretty sure we won't have the time to do that.
We won't have a long time, but if you want to spend a couple minutes, it would be kind of cool. I mean, it is.
Well, I mean, look, we broke it into stages, right? So the first thing we did is we marked out on the stage the dimensions of the C-17 itself, right? So what you're looking at creatively is the back end of a scene and a single shot that has to exit the plane, and that's something that nobody had really done that didn't feel like a skydiving shot.
Yeah,
we had to do it with technology that I was comfortable with, that would serve the quality of what we'd shot already. So that involved bigger cameras, anamorphic lenses. Secondly, or in this case, spherical lenses. In this case, it was we were going IMAX on it. And then we did a lot of work on wind tunnels, and of course, it being Mission Impossible, we had to have the biggest wind tunnel in the world on the back lot of at Leavesden, which had 4 jet engines pumped into it, which was insane. But a lot of the work was done there to choreograph the sequence. At first, we thought we were going to shoot the sequence there. And I had to then, one of my challenges was, because originally scripted that the skydiving jump was at night. And I just said, look, guys, you literally are not going to see anything. At 13,000 feet, you're going to see the lights around his helmets, and it's not going to work. What you want to do is you want to feel the curvature of the earth. You want to feel that height that you get, when you're in a jet plane and you look out the window and the sun is long gone, but you still feel this kind of weird twilight. So I said, why don't we say the jump happens at that point? So by the time they reach Paris and they've gone through the storm clouds, it is night. So we can sell that idea in reality, which is what we did in the end.
Yeah.
So you get a lot more out of it, right? when we were working with the wind tunnels and the original idea that we were going to shoot the whole sequence on a wind tunnel, with the exception of the first part, I had to find a way of having a change of lighting changes that would take you from kind of weird 13,000 feet twilight into storm cloud, into lights coming up from Paris below. And I can tell you that was difficult, but, we figured it out in the end. And by the time we got to the point of figuring that out, both Henry and Tom, specifically Tom, felt the wind tunnel just wasn't working for them. They wanted to do it for real. And at which point then, I've already looked at these ideas like, do we need a cameraman who can train up as a skydiver? Because I'm not jumping out of a plane, I can tell you that. Do we need a skydiver that we train as a cameraman? And which is eventually where we ended up. And this first part, it needs to feel like a Steadicam, and we're not obviously jumping out with a Steadicam. That's ridiculous. And is it going to be a helmet cam? If so, he needs to be crouched at a certain height. Are we going to put him on wheels somehow? All of these questions had to be researched and developed, and then answered, and then given a safety stamp to be able to do it 13, 14, 15,000 feet. So yeah, it was a process.
So where did it end up? You had an actual diver that you trained as a camera operator. Correct.
And he ended up, we had a red camera broken down onto on a helmet cam. We had our Primo 70 IMAX lenses, and we had a focus pulling handoff, if you like, mid-air handoff from plane to ground. And
what do you mean mid-air focus pulling handoff? So were you controlling it remotely in some way?
Focus was controlled remotely.
Okay.
Yeah. So but from the plane itself, and then there was a handoff somewhere in mid-air to the ground.
Just by changing the signal, I guess, from which unit is attached to it. Wow. My God.
No.
That is that's crazy.
The whole thing was nuts. The whole thing was insane. But
how many times did you do it?
It looks great. 14 times.
Oh, wow.
Actually, over a period, it was a period of 3 weeks, 14 jumps, I believe. And it was probably the last couple of jumps when it really worked.
Unbelievable. There must have been a point when you're 12 jumps in, 10 jumps in, and you're like, this just isn't working. Are we going to keep going until it does?
Well, that's exactly, that was our approach throughout the whole movie. And sometimes you're like, there's no way this is going to work. But that's where, the skill of someone like Tom comes in. He's just constantly like, no, we keep going. We keep going. And he's like, I don't care. I'm going to stay, because the first part of the jump was out in Abu Dhabi. And he's like, we're staying here until we've got it. We're not leaving until we've got it. And everyone's like, maybe we're going to be here for 4 or 5 weeks or a month or 3 months. Who knows? But that was always the case with every scene we approached. It was like, particularly when it came to the stunts, that we would never walk away from it until we all felt like we really got it.